This video is sponsored by thingpenguin.com.
Remember that time we were...
Okay, so I started the recording. Do we have you, Dave?
You do. How do I sound? Do I sound okay?
Yep, sounds good. Okay, so what do I want to do here? Okay, so Dave, what did you have?
Oh, the first thing was I've been making a mistake that I wanted to share with everyone and see if they can learn from it. I call talk radio a lot, to tell them the latest NHexit news. And one thing I keep forgetting to mention is the elephant in the room, which is the poll. The Survey USA poll that showed 42%, of people support having an independence referendum. And I just keep forgetting to mention that for some reason. I don't hear it that many other places, and definitely the mainstream press is not reporting it for it. So it's just something to think about. If you ever get an audience in front of you talking about this, that poll is the most important thing to tell them, because it shows them how close we are to having a majority in support of an independence referendum.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So last week we were talking about some of your calls you've made, but then you've made a few since then.
Yeah, but it's like I was saying on Telegram, I've kind of shot my bolt because I can't call in about the same thing every time I call into a show. So I'm kind of limited by the number of shows that I can call into, and I've called all the shows on my list about this pretty much.
Mm-hmm. All right. Riley, did you have something you were going to talk about?
There is something I'd like to talk about. I have been thinking about writing a Declaration of Independence for the state of New Hampshire. I'm sure one has been done, but I think it's time to revisit this idea and write one up, and on the 4th of July, read it in downtown Keene, New Hampshire, as an act of civil disobedience. In a way, as we burn a flag and all that fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely...
Go ahead.
I definitely think it's a good idea to write a Declaration of Independence, patterned after the one written in 1776. Because, New Hampshire, at least in my mind, New Hampshire needs something written on paper, codified and short, to the point. Because in this day and age, people don't want to read a 10-page document. I think it's important to keep it at least 1 to 2 pages and air the grievances we have toward the United States government.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you writing this up? Where are you writing this up, Riley?
I haven't started it yet. I don't know yet.
My suspicion is that you're talking about a U.S. flag burn.
Yep.
Yeah, my suspicion is that would look bad and go badly.
Okay.
I mean, I support your right to. Well, what does it say? I believe you have a right to do it. That's probably the right way to put it. I don't think I would support it in any active way.
Okay. All right.
And then are you wanting to do so are you wanting to take your time and build up to that, or what kind of time period are you talking about?
I was trying to get it done by at least the end of June, early July.
Oh, okay, so sometime this summer. Okay. So you could talk about it for a while and build it up for a while, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Russell had some success in 2005 burning a FEMA flag.
Yeah, that was fun.
And what about a United Nations flag?
It's a separate issue.
Okay.
Yeah, let's see. Did we do a FEMA flag after? It seemed like we did a FEMA flag after Katrina. So it was like later, like 08 or something like that. But I don't remember exactly. Yeah, it is different because different people react differently to different batches of stuff. You know, um, so but okay, so that'll be a long-term thing. Well, you could take a while to build it, and then you could talk to a lot of people about it.
Yeah.
And see
Yeah.
who wants to join you or how you want to sort that out and stuff like that. Yeah. So Dave, when he mentioned this to me, I thought we had done something like that. Somebody had done that on the New Hampshire Underground or somewhere on the Shire Society or something like that. But I haven't looked and found one yet. But I found this interesting document when I punched in New Hampshire Constitution, New Hampshire Declaration of Independence. And I found this thing that was done by, let's see, I think the guy was a, let's see, I think he was, I'm trying to figure out if he was the governor or a general at the time. Let me look at it again.
Yeah, whatever it was, I received it and I put it into my audio reader, and I was going to listen to it in
Yeah, well, it's not very long. So they had, okay, so it was signed by John Langdon, who was the president pro tempore of the New Hampshire legislature, and E. Thompson as the secretary. And this happened in, they had a convention that met on June 5th, 1779. So, Riley, you were thinking that was halfway through the Revolutionary War?
Yeah, I think the war either ended in 1781 or 1783. I just can't remember which year.
So this is after the U.S. Declaration. I mean, no, what would it be? What was the Declaration of Independence? That was the
July 4th, 1776.
Yeah, and then who was saying that? Was it signed for different states, colonies?
The 13 colonies signed it.
Yeah, okay. So this one they did in 1779. And let me just read it to you because it's not that long. So it's a Declaration of Rights and Plans of Government for the State of New Hampshire, and the New Hampshire is NEW hyphen H Hampshire, New dash Hampshire. And I was thinking, boy, this sounds a lot like what we'd be doing, right? A Declaration of Rights and Plans of Government for the State of New Hampshire. Okay, so it says, whereas by the tyrannical administration of the government of the King and Parliament of Great Britain, this state of New Hampshire, with the other United States of America, and that was all in capitals, have been necessitated to reject the British government and declare themselves independent states, all which is more largely set forth by the Continental Congress in their resolution of Declaration of the 4th of July, AD 1776. And whereas it is recommended by the said Continental Congress to each and every of the said United States to establish a form of government most conducive to the welfare thereof, we, the delegates of the said state of New Hampshire, chosen for the purpose of forming a permanent plan of government, subject to the revisal of our constituents, have composed the following Declaration of Rights and Plan of Government, and recommend the same to our constituents for their approbation. So here it is, the Declaration of the Rights of the People of the State of New Hampshire. First, we declare that we, the people of the State of New Hampshire, are free and independent of the Crown of Great Britain. Secondly, we, the people of this state, are entitled to life, liberty, and property, and all other immunities and privileges which we heretofore enjoy. Thirdly, the common and statute laws of England adopted and used here, and the laws of this state, and it's got parentheses, not inconsistent with said Declaration of Independence, close parenthesis, now are and shall be in force here for the welfare and good government of the state, unless the same shall be repealed or altered by the future legislature thereof. Fourthly, the whole and entire power of government of this state is vested in and must be derived from the people thereof, and from no other source whatsoever. Fifthly, the future legislature of this state shall make no laws to infringe the rights of conscience, or any other of the natural and inalienable rights of man, or contrary to the laws of God, or against the Protestant religion. That's interesting. Sixthly, the extent of territory of this state is and shall be the same which was under the government of the late Governor John Wentworth, Esquire, Governor of New Hampshire, reserving nonetheless our claim to the New Hampshire grant, so called, situated to the west of the Connecticut River, in hard brackets, Vermont. Seventhly, the right of trial by jury in all cases as heretofore used in this state shall be preserved inviolate forever. There we go. That was it. That was their proposal. So they were going to use the laws that they already had from England, right? And they had, and then they were just changing it a little bit. That's how I heard it.
That's how I understood it too.
Yeah, that's interesting. So they were kind of expanding on their plan in light of the, Declaration of Independence. Also, I would guess that some people would think, I think in New Hampshire, they stopped fighting early. By 1779, they might have been feeling like we're kind of done over here. You know what I mean? That, I don't think there were British troops anywhere near New Hampshire in 1779, that they had moved on from that and we're talking about what's it going to be like when we're done, that sort of thing. So, yeah, I thought that was interesting. Anything else you thought about that, Riley?
The document that you just read?
Yeah.
I thought it was inspirational. I mean, the founding fathers and the people who came to this land for freedom definitely wanted freedom. I mean, the colonies were definitely oppressed by the crown, as we can plainly tell by history. And, a government 3,000 miles away, which is how far Britain is roughly from us, was very tyrannical to these people. And, DC is like 600 miles from us here in New Hampshire, and it's even more tyrannical than Great Britain, but yet we've got to preserve the Union for some reason.
Yeah, you might want to take some of those ideas for your thing that you're doing. That might make sense. So let's see here. So the next thing. So I just found that when we were looking. I mean, that's something I just even never heard of. There might even be more stuff like that. I found that in some library website. The next thing I had on my list is there's a good YouTube video / Mises blog / Mises podcast where Daniel Miller is being interviewed by Bob Murphy on a Mises session. They talk for about an hour. So I posted that on our podcast, and I posted that in various places so people can find that. So if you look up at Mises.org/library, if you somewhere around there, if you type in will texit, so the title is will texit be GOP prime, so it's texit and the GOP primary ballot. So that's what they talked about. There was another podcast from Mises where they were talking texit and nullification, and they did not say that New Hampshire had an active. They were saying, well, Texas is the most active secession thing. So I guess we got to step our game because they weren't paying attention to us. We might have to kidnap one of these Mises guys, drag them to New Hampshire. I'm having trouble hearing you, Riley. It might be because my thing's slow or your thing's slow. I don't know. The next one that I'm putting on the blog is, I don't know if you guys saw this thing, that New Hampshire House Democrats put it on Twitter, but they might have also put it in other places. They are posting the 12 days of chaos.
I've heard about this.
Yeah, the 12 days of chaos that the New Hampshire GOP is giving to us. But it made me so happy because you know what the first day of chaos is?
What?
On the first day of chaos, NHGOP gave to me a bill to secede from the United States.
Yes, excellent.
So we are in the pole position. We're at the top of the heap. the thing this possibly could mean, this is the thing that the New Hampshire Democrats of the House think is the most ridiculous thing. Now, let me read a letter to the editor that some lunatic named Dave Ridley wrote. And it says, letter to the union leader, NHexit legislation would let the people vote on independence. And he writes, at the imperial level next year, you will have a slate of arguably dodgy presidential candidates to pick from. But at the state level, you have a much more meaningful opportunity to counter DC abuses. New Hampshire has Representative Jason Gerhard's CACR 20. If passed, this legislation would trigger what is essentially a Brexit-style referendum on independence from the U.S. government. All New Hampshire voters would be able to decide whether we want to continue participating in Washington's inflation, its unconstitutional SWAT raids on New Hampshire Bitcoin businesses, and its torture chambers. Passage of this disparate legislation is a hyper long shot for now. The establishment gatekeepers at Concord will try to keep you from being able to vote on this. But as the Scottish and Quebecois secession drives have proven, you don't have to completely achieve independence to have a positive effect on a central government. Just moving in that direction is a peaceable deterrent, which tends to increase local control. The hearing for Gerhard's legislation will likely occur between January and March at the State House complex. Visit forum.shiresociety.com to find out more as we get closer. Signed, Dave Ridley, Winchester. So, the extremists have spoken. Okay. So, we'll see if that gets published in the Union Leader. I don't know if you send it in and it doesn't get published right away. Does that mean it's never going to happen? I don't know. The Union Leader is the biggest newspaper in Manchester.
Yeah.
So another guy on one of our NHexit groups, I think this was on Facebook or the Matrix server, I forget which one it was. He put yet another reason for NHexit, the CIA. So he's got an article from Counterpunch, the CIA's 70 years of organized crime. So if you can find that, that has interesting stuff. I also put another thing from and jump in here, Riley, if you have any thoughts. Otherwise, I'll keep telling.
Okay.
This stuff. Another little snippet from Leif Alexander posting on the Shire Society's NHexit section. He says, now I have to wonder, what would happen if a state passed a law saying, in short, quote, the federal government shall have no legal jurisdiction in the state of New Hampshire, unquote. This would essentially nullify all federal laws, but would still permit the state to have exactly the same laws in force if it so desired. One example that might make a real difference is the oaths that public officials in New Hampshire take. The Constitution requirement that public officials take an oath to uphold the Constitution and the laws of the United States would essentially be the United States commandeering public officials to act as agents for the federal government. Yeah, that's true. This is an example of federal government overreach. Yep. Yeah, that's the thing is, I mean, you don't have any states' rights if you're all swearing allegiance to the defending the United States Constitution and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, the rights of the states have been deeply diminished since the Civil War in the 1860s.
Mm-hmm. The next one I posted was Tom Woods had a good podcast with Scott Horton where they were talking about COVID again. And he has come out with a really good book called Diary of COVID, where he's taking his daily posts and recollections of what happened, interspersed with different facts and figures and charts and stuff like that, as a way for him to crank out a book and get it out there, reminding us of the insanity that happened. And so I put that in a pile of stuff. This is what the federal government did to us. I mean, it wasn't just the United States government, but there was definitely pressure from them. So it's called diaryofcovid.com is the website, and then they have he has a book that he's selling there, and then he also has a side book that comes free with it, is a whole bunch of stories of people that have been didn't get to go to the hospital because somebody wouldn't let them in, or things were closed down, or whatever craziness was happening at the time. Let's see. Oh, I found it interesting. I was looking up turnpikes in New Hampshire. Every once in a while, you'll find a road that's still on our current maps that'll say like Second New Hampshire Turnpike. So I found a good article showing all the turnpikes that got built from 1796, which is not long after it became a state in the United States, right? After 1789, up till 1830. And I think after that, the railroads kind of took over.
Yeah.
So they made a bunch of these turnpikes, and it's on a blog called Cow Hampshire blog. And then it's called New Hampshire Turnpike History. So I'm putting that on our blog post. Let's see, what else was there? I'm just reading through all my stuff. And then the 10th Amendment Center was talking about a bill. So here's a bill. A bill filed in the New Hampshire House would end all state and local cooperation with the U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention and the World Health Organization. So the CDC is a federal thing, right? And the World Health Organization is a UN thing. So Representative Michael Granger, along with 7 co-sponsors, filed House Bill 1156. So that's HB 1156 for introduction January 3rd, 2024. Under the proposed law, the CDC and the WHO would have no jurisdiction, in quotes, in New Hampshire. HB 1156 would further prohibit the state and its political subdivisions from engaging in the enforcement of or collaboration with the enforcement of, quote, any requirements, mandates, recommendations, instructions, or guidance provided by either organization, unquote. The legislation specifically states that any requirements, mandates, recommendations, instructions, or guidance by either organization shall not be used in this state to justify any mask, vaccine, or medical testing requirements and shall have no force or effect in New Hampshire. I wonder if the wording will get changed by the committee or some other group or what, because it's also very specific. I don't know. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I wonder that too. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah. The passage of HB 1156 would effectively stop the enforcement of CDC or WHO mandates in New Hampshire by ending all state and local cooperation. Based on James Madison's advice for states and individuals in Federalist 46, A refusal to cooperate with the officers of the Union provides an extremely effective method to render federal laws effectively unenforceable because most enforcement actions rely on help, support, and leadership from the states. So Fox News senior judicial analyst Judge Andrew Napolitano agreed this type of approach would be extremely effective. In a televised discussion on federal gun laws, he noted that a single state refusing to cooperate with enforcement would make federal gun laws nearly impossible to enforce. Yeah, they rely on so much of the local stuff.
Yeah, they do.
So that article keeps going. So that was an interesting article. And you can look up HB 1156 in one of those bill coverage things. Another thing I came across, I was looking up how New Hampshire ranked for its internet access. So on one website called Broadband Now, it ranks New Hampshire as the second best state for internet coverage, speed, and availability. Another website I found had us number 1, and another one had us number 5 below, like Minnesota, Utah, North Dakota. I forget the other one or two.
Okay.
So yeah, we were always number 1, 2, 3, or 5. 5. So that was kind of interesting.
That is interesting.
Even though there are some places, some backwoodsy places around here that don't have great internet, and it also depends on how you're listing it. Does everybody have high speed, or are you only caring about 20 gig things, or that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Let's see here. I think that might be it. Yes, that's it for my blog post that'll come out tomorrow. The other thing that Think Penguin wanted to talk about is whether we should get a table at the Liberty Forum in March 2024. I know the New Hampshire Independence PAC has one.
I think it would be helpful to have a secession forum there, a table there of some kind.
Well, yeah, so I don't know if we need a separate one or what people think, because the PAC has one already.
Yeah. Okay.
So because Matt C. and the PAC had one last year, I was there on Sunday helping man the table, and they had a session on secession that like 5 or 6 of our guys were in. And yeah, if I look at, so it's $500 to be the lowest level vendor, I think it is. And so that's a possibility. And then you can have a table and 2 chairs and two tickets and stuff like that. But yes, the Club 75 Alliance is a sponsor too. Okay.
Oh, nice.
So Club 75 Alliance will be doing stuff. And then I'm not finding it on their website, but I thought I had looked before and saw that the New Hampshire Independence PAC was already going to do this. So this is at the Doubletree Hilton thing in Nashua. That's where it's going to be this year. Last year was at a different spot.
Okay.
So that's the NHLibertyForum.com. I must have gotten that other information somewhere else, because if I click on sponsors, it just shows one Club 75 Alliance, but I could have sworn I saw different ones. But maybe they were leftovers from last year. You know what I mean? I might have been looking at the sponsors from last year.
That's entirely possible.
Because the speakers have changed to this year's speakers, that's for sure. So yeah, okay. Well, so amongst us, we'll have to talk about whether we want to have a table and who can man it and that kind of stuff. Because at least we have one. We should have one. Now, if Steve Valet is already doing something with the Club 75 that's slightly different than ours because he doesn't want to just unilaterally declare secession, which we would be doing if we passed the CACR 20. We would not be waiting for the feds to release us. We'd be, putting a vote to do it ourselves. So that's the stuff that I know. I think, is there something else? Well, and also like your declaration, we'd be talking about that over time because, so people could contact you if they wanted to help you draft it, right?
You're talking about the Declaration of Independence?
Yeah.
They can contact me if they want to help draft the Declaration of
Do
Independence.
you just want to call it the Declaration of Independence like 2024 or New Hampshire Declaration of Independence? What would you call it?
I'd call it New Hampshire Declaration of Independence. That's just what I'd call it.
Yeah, that's interesting because this old one I read was not called that. It had a different name. So, what was it called? Declaration of the Rights of the People of the State of New Hampshire. Interesting.
Yep.
Okay. And then telling how they were going to form the government, and it was very simple. So it read like some of the bills that we have in New Hampshire that aren't that long either. All right. I don't think I know about anything else, and then we'll have more. So next week, I cannot record. I might be able to call in, but I won't be able to record. So I'd be relying on somebody else to record, or we could just talk and not record. So that's what
it all depends on what happens. We can figure it out.
All right. Well, sounds good. If you're done, Dave, what are you saying?
Ridley might have something.
Dave is saying something, but I can't hear it quite.
I can't hear it either.
Mm-hmm. I hear an open mic over there or something. He's not muted anymore. Yeah. All right. Well, I don't hear him saying anything.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yep. Except for now we've got feedback because you're talking on two different devices at once. Let me mute your other one. There we go. Can you try talking again, Dave?
We can't hear Dave at all, so.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on now. Because he was in two different instances and they were talking to each other.
Yeah.
And feeding back.
I should be.
Yeah, we
should be able to. Okay. Sorry about that. Well, it's a good thing I left a second connection open because the first one failed for no particular reason. But yeah, I had a couple other things. Riley, I had a question for you with regard to the. I'd got some complaints from my viewers before you started running the compression, which was really useful, and to make our audio levels even. I was getting complaints from my viewers that the audio levels were uneven. But are all the files that you guys are putting on, all the files of these meetings, when you guys put them on NHexit.org, are those run through compression first?
We haven't been lately.
Okay. As I was listening, I noticed that there were some uneven audio levels. It wasn't super bad, but it will be bad if someone calls in, which sometimes I do, or at least I've done in the past. So the compression is really useful, especially when someone calls in. But
That's good
and a less technical matter. I was listening to some of what Texit's been doing. Of course, they put independents on the Republican primary ballot, and I don't know that we can't try to do that here, or that we couldn't try to get the Republican Party to put it in their plank, like Texit did. Yeah, another option that hasn't been explored yet is putting New Hampshire independence on local ballots with the petition drive of some kind, just to get a local. Did the locals support the right to vote on independence or not? That can be done. We can't do petition drive at the state level, as I understand it. But there are all these, so there are many unexplored avenues that are still open.
Yeah, I wonder, because we could do that. Yeah, because there's not petitions or things like that on the state ballot. But yeah, that makes sense. In towns, there's all kinds of funny things that are possible, I think.
I think that's all I've got.
All right.
All right, sounds good. I will stop my recording and talk to you guys later.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
No, thank you.
Do you value your privacy? Want hardware that works? Get Linux at New Hampshire's very own penguin.com.